I just finished reading Roland Martin's White Fear, or How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. And let me tell you something, friends. This is one of the most powerful books of our time. The United States as a whole was founded, built, and established on racism. On the purest level of racism. And I think that's something that every American should understand and acknowledge, especially my melanin deficient friends. This country would be a much better place empathetically. I never thought that a documentative book would expand my mind the way White Fear did. And I gotta say, this is not a sponsored video. I just had this book sent by one of my good friends. I read it and it blew my mind, so I have to share it with y'all. This book just hit me in a way that not many books have, and I've read a lot in college. Now, I've known most of the aspects in this book. It was just never explained to me or put on a table per se, the way Roland Martin did in this book. Now, I am gonna use excerpts from this book to explain what White Fear is and the direction that this country is going in the next 2 decades. A direction that's making white people in the United States horrified. So, what is White Fear? We can take that question in many directions, but I think that there's only one way to explain this. White people are afraid of other races being in power in this country. They don't like anyone that isn't white involved in anything that can systematically change this country. Especially when it's systemic change that is in the better interest for everyone, not just white people. White privilege is real. Systemic racism is real, and white ignorance is the driving force of both of those. And many white people don't even know this. Many of them don't even believe in it. Well, many Latinos, Hispanics, Asian people, and black people will say differently. But Roland Martin broke this down perfectly, and I'm paraphrasing here. First, we have to understand White Fear. It is important to understand the insanity and the history behind it also. Without the proper knowledge of this, we will continue to be blindsided every time White Fear inevitably rears its head. So let's look back when White Fear really got its start. Slavery. The moment slaves were given freedom, the South became furious. January 31st, 1865, slavery was abolished. However, most slaves in those southern states didn't find out until June 19th, 1865, a day also known as Juneteenth. And that's just the beginning. Once black men started being voted into Congress in the South, white people lost their minds even more, especially those down in Mississippi. Dude, once white people started screaming, too many blacks are being voted into Congress, that's gotta stop. White fear started brewing in Mississippi. And guess what? Since 1890, not a single African American has been voted into state office in Mississippi. Since 1890. But wait, there's more. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. White fear embedded its ugly head into the section of the town known as Black Wall Street. Black folks had everything there. It was one of the most prosperous African American communities in the United States. Seeing black people succeed? Well, y'all know that don't fly with white mother. This scared white people so much that they thought black people are gonna start taking over everything and even enslave white people. I wish I was kidding. So you know what those white people did? They burned that whole section down. Burned it down because white fear was flowing through their veins. Central High School, Little Rock, Arkansas, 1957. Just because this high school was integrating 9 black students into their program, white fear emerged and had white people following them on their way to school, screaming at them, throwing racial slurs at them, spitting at them. I wonder whose grandma this is today, if this is even alive. I would love to hear her opinion on this matter nowadays. Then there was the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968. Black man influencing too many people? Even white people? He's gotta be stopped. Now, white fear took a hard grip on white people in the 1970s when schools started really integrating and even establishing mandatory busing to other non-integrated schools. Then we have some modern white fear, where Bill Clinton signed the crime bill into law in 1994. You remember that? That 3-strike rule? Oh, and Joe Biden was one of the main sponsors of that bill. Just for your information. The president that we have today has definitely snorted a line or two of white fear himself. Don't get that twisted. Then we have the Shelby County versus Holder verdict of 2013, gutting most of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and of course, the election of Donald Jessica Trump. We cannot forget that. Now, arguably, this is the most that white fear has ever been televised on national television here in the United States, and possibly has the most impact it ever had on white people expressing white fear. Now, let's make this clear. White fear has never left, and it probably will never leave. It'll inevitably, more than likely, become worse and worse. If January 6th, 2021 didn't express white fear at its finest, then brace yourself for the next 2 decades. As Mr. Martin states, the minority-majority shift will happen during that time. By the year 2043, Latinos, Hispanics, Asian people, and black people will be the majority in the United States. White people will be the minority. And that is the main reason why white people are expressing white fear today. A land that they colonized and violently took over, they can't imagine not controlling it. Why do you think they're packing the courts with white right-wing judges? Why do you think they're trying to make voting so difficult in the South for minorities? Why do you think they're putting voting locations in super small buildings in predominantly black areas so these people have to wait for hours to cast their vote? Why do you think that is? Why do you think they haven't fixed the water problem in Jackson, Mississippi and in Flint, Michigan? They don't want to help minorities. They would rather them go away and disappear. That is white fear in its purest form. Now, let's look at the year 2006. A young, inspiring senator decided that he was going to run for the highest office of the land. His name is Barack Hussein Obama, an African-American senator from Illinois. He ran a hell of a campaign and eventually won. We had finally gotten our black president and it felt good. I voted for him twice and I don't regret it one bit. But 8 years of Obama made white people very, very scared. This fueled white Republicans in 2010 to win both chambers of Congress. They could not stand the fact that a black man was running their little white country. So in 2016, they retaliated by putting Donald Jessica Trump into their primaries, him eventually winning the candidacy, which I still believe today that they did not expect, and then winning the whole thing, beating Hillary Clinton. During Trump's campaign, rallies, and even presidency, he became the face of white fear, the spokesperson, the alpha and omega. White people loved the shit he said. He said everything that he thought about behind closed doors. They didn't give a shit what he said, be it racist or the blatant mockery of a disabled reporter. They didn't give a f. White fear was officially front and center with Donald Trump as president, and with him now being out for 2 years, white fear is still here. It has not gone away. Not even a little bit. On November 8th, 2021, we found out that Joe Biden would be the next president of the United States, and I gotta say to y'all, I had 20,000 pounds of pressure off of my shoulder, knowing that Donald Trump would not be running this country further into the ground. But once we found this out, that's when white fear spiked and Trump used it to his advantage. The election was stolen. The election was rigged. That's all he was screaming, and he's still screaming it today. But it wasn't until January 6th, 2021 that white fear took a hard turn. A hard, violent turn on our Capitol steps and in our congressional chambers. Trump extremists stormed the Capitol in an insurrection to stop the presidential democratic process of transferring power from Trump to Biden. 5 people lost their lives that day. And for what? Because their dictator cultist lost? Because they thought it was a stolen election? No. It was because of white fear. It was because of white fear fueling all of those things. If white fear wasn't the fuel to this fire, this might have never happened. White fear is always a fuel ready to be ignited. And white people need to finally start understanding and looking in the mirror and asking themselves, how can I help? How can I help to end white fear? How can I encourage myself to be part of a change that is good? A change that is integrating different cultures that we can learn from and even enjoy. White fear and white ignorance is something that I want my white friends and colleagues to understand, that we need to get rid of it. We need to start fighting against it naturally and organically. People are people, and when we realize that we're the same on the inside, this might actually change. Now, here's my question, and I will see you in the comment section. Do you think white fear is real? Comment below, let me know. But if you need more leftist content, then check out that video right here. And if you can, please support the channel on Patreon. I will leave those links right here in the card and in the description below. If you want to come join my private Discord community, come check it out. We talk about politics all the time. And I have lives every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you there. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly leftist videos, and I am out.